Okay, lesson 2 4. This is still solving inequalities. We're looking at video 2. This deals with a special thing that we have to do with inequalities, and that's flipping the signs. So let's look here. There's one important difference between solving equations and inequalities, and that is when you have to multiply or divide by a negative number. We must switch that inequality symbol. Now we'll come back to the example right here in just a second, but I feel like I need to explain that to you, why that happens right here. So let's look at this. If we look right here, let me slide the image down here. We have a statement that's true, an inequality statement that's true. 2 is less than 4. It's definitely less than 4. If we add 2 to both sides, then we get 4 is less than 6. Still a true statement. If we subtract a number from both sides, so we subtract 2 from both sides, we still get a statement that is true. 0 is still less than 2. If we multiply by a positive number, when we multiply by 2, 4 is still less than 8. Still a true statement. If we divide by a positive number, when we divide by 2 on both sides, 1 is still less than 2. But things began to change when we look at multiplying by a negative number. When you multiply by a negative number, you have a negative 4 on one side and a negative 8 on the other side. Now, is a negative 4 still less than a negative 8? No, it's not. We actually have to flip that inequality because that's not true. It has to be negative 4 is greater than negative 8. Let's see what happens when we divide by a negative number. So we start with our statement that 2 is less than 4, which is true. Then we're going to divide both sides. Let me pull that screen over just a little bit so you can see that better. Okay, and so 4 divided by a negative 2, when you get that, you're going to get a negative 1 on the left-hand side and a negative 2 on the right-hand side. Now, is that still true? Is negative 1 still less than negative 2? No, it's not. It's greater than negative 2. So here's what we're having to do. Everything remained true until I multiplied or I divided by a negative number. When that happened, I needed to take and flip those inequalities. Okay, now why do you have to flip the inequality? Well, here's the reason why. Let me scroll up here. The negative and the positive sign of a number line, they work differently. So let's look at it. On the negative side, a negative 3 is less than negative 2. But on the positive side, a positive 3 is greater than a positive 2. So when we change the sign, when we flip it from being positive to negative, then with multiplication or with division, then that inequality symbol changes. So let's go back and actually do that example now. Okay. So we've got to get rid of the negative 3 and the negative 4. But you get rid of your addition or subtraction first. So you're going to add 4 to both sides. And if my pen will work, I will get rid of that by adding 4 to both sides. And we have a negative 3x is greater than or equal to 15. Now we're going to divide. We're going to divide by a negative 3. Now, this was a positive over here, but when we divided by that negative 3, then negative 3 divided by negative 3, that's a positive 1x, and that would give me on the other side a negative 5. So we switched signs there by multiplying or dividing by a negative number, so our inequality needed to flip. So make yourself a note, flip, because that's going to be the mistake that you're going to make the most. And there'll definitely be questions like this on the mastery check, on the test. They'll be there always, okay, because that's the most common mistake. So now if you're going to graph your solutions, you go to the negative end of the number line. So let me move this. Okay, You're going to the negative end of the number line, which is -5. You look, you have to determine, is it a closed circle or is it an open circle? And if we look at this, it has an equal to sign, so that means a -5 is definitely a solution. So we close it in. And then it says less than. Less than, where are the numbers smaller than -5? To the left. So that would be our solution. So again, to recap, only when you multiply or divide by a negative number do you flip that inequality symbol. Every other time, it stays exactly the same. Now, you have a you try. So pause and do your you try.